Our next speaker is Bob Rackleff. He doesn't have anyone to introduce him, but he says he can do that for himself. So big hand for Bob.
Thank you very much. Hello, Democrats. Hello. It's good to be with you. It's good to be with Neil Dunn. This is a custom bobblehead I had done, ordered a few months ago in recognition of the fact that Neil doesn't like to show up. So here he is tonight, and I hope you. He doesn't have too much. He doesn't have too much to say. I'm Bob Rackleff. I moved to Tallahassee in 1952. I grew up in North Florida. I went to Florida State. I went in the Navy. I came back and was in state government for a few years. I moved to Washington in the early 70s, where I was became a speechwriter for various Democrats, including Jimmy Carter when he was president for the last 2 years. Very proud to serve that man and continue to try to live up to the examples that he set. I've also been a corporate speechwriter for 32 years, writing for numerous CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, so I've learned a lot about how our economy works. And I was a county commissioner in Leon County for 12 years, 1998 to 2010. So when I talk about issues, I don't have to make promises, because I accomplished those promises. And I had a good solid record of service to the working families of Leon County, and not the special interests who were always pushing us to do things that were against the public interest and against the interests of working families. I want to thank everybody for coming here. I have an old habit of counting the crowd, and I'm very pleased with the number of people who showed up. And it's a good turnout. I want to thank you for being among the millions of Democrats who this year are standing up and speaking truth to power. This last year has been tragic for our democracy, for our economic future, and for our social fabric. But you stood up and you were counted, and you're still being counted today. I'm here to ask for your help to return our government to the working families of North Florida, to take it back from the corporations, from the millionaires and billionaires, and from the radical fringe that's drunk with power today. I'm ready to protect and expand the Affordable Care Act, not destroy it. Neil Dunn voted last May to repeal the Affordable Care Act and denied coverage to 63,000 people in District 2 alone. 63,000 people. That's almost 1 out of every 10 person in this district. That's because he has rejected what you and I know, that everybody deserves affordable, decent health care. It's a basic human right, and I intend to uphold that right. I'm also ready to expand good jobs in the neglected communities of North Florida. Jobs to rebuild our worn out highways and bridges, jobs to deliver decent health care, jobs to rebuild our worn out school buildings, jobs to expand internet service and solar power, and countless other jobs that make families stronger and our nation stronger. A few weeks ago, the Florida Chamber reported that 36 Florida counties out of 67 have fewer jobs now than they did in 2007. I was just floored when I read that. 36 counties. And in fact, almost every county in this congressional district, except for Leon, has fewer jobs today than they did in 2007. That is just shameful. And it is it's a black mark on this country that we have allowed rural America and rural North Florida to suffer those kinds of pressures. Now, in my 12 years as a county commissioner, I compiled a solid record. And in doing that, I followed a simple, straightforward principle. In America, everybody does better when everybody does better. And to repeat that. Everybody does better than when everybody does better. It means we can't afford to leave anybody behind. We can't afford it economically, because in order to compete in the global economy, we have to have everybody working up to their full potential. We can't afford it morally, because it goes against our Declaration of Independence that spoke of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we can't afford it spiritually, because our Creator reminds us that never to turn away from anyone, not our children, not the elderly and sick, and not the stranger. But Neil Dunn doesn't think like that. By his votes on both health care and tax cuts last year, he created huge, undeserved windfalls for the medical industry, for real estate and banking businesses, and for multinational corporations. And this year, he's ready to vote for deep cuts in our safety net, Medicare, Social Security, nursing home aid. A couple of weeks ago in the Wall Street Journal, one of the big economists for the Republican Party talked about how it wasn't the tax cuts that are creating the deficit, it's spending. And he proposed to raise the eligibility for Social Security to age 70. It's already been raised from 65 to 67. And he said, and not only that, he said, and as life expectancies improve, we ought to increase that even more. This is in the car. This is what they're talking about in secret. They want to pay for the tax cuts that they just enacted and the huge deficits. They want all of us to pay for that, and I reject that. So Neil Dunn and Rick Scott and the rest of them have to go. We need to re-elect Bill Nelson. We need to re-elect Al Lawson and elect the Democratic governor and cabinet. And let's go all out to do just that. I want to end with something that I read last year, and in fact, it's what really convinced me to move back to Tallahassee, where I'd been in the Obama administration, to move back here and run for this seat. It was written by Thomas Friedman, and I quote, "Donald Trump's presidency is not just a threat to my political preferences. It's a threat to the rule of law, freedom of the press, ethics in government, the integrity of our institutions, the values our kids need to learn from their president, and America's long-standing role as a respected leader of the free world. You need to get out of Facebook and into somebody's face." By running for Congress as a Democrat or an independent, registering somebody to vote for a Democrat or independent, or raising money to support such candidates. Nothing else matters. Either Democrats get a lever of power, or we're stuck emailing each other Saturday Night Live skits. So I repeat, run as, raise money for, or register someone to vote for a Democrat or independent running for House or Senate on November 6, 2018. Nothing else matters. And you can't get any clearer than that. Nothing else matters. So let's teach them they can't get away with this. Let's take back Congress. Let's take back Florida. Let's take back our country. Let's win this election. Are you with me? Yeah. Thank you.